Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and the intersectionality between how, specifically between how wizards in Dungeons and Dragons learn to cast spells. All right, let's dive into this. So, I'm a speed cuber, and I've learned a lot of things from speed cubing about dealing with complexity. Cubing is incredibly complex. Speed cubing is incredibly complex. And one of the reasons why I really like it is it's a fun way to approach complexity. Well, wizards deal with complexity a lot. It's a major aspect in Magic in Dungeons and Dragons. So Dungeons and Dragons has wizards, and they are specified today. And so what I want to talk about today is a way to think about how wizards learn spells. And you could apply this change in your game today, or I think that Wizards of the Coast design team should be very carefully considering this as an option for 6th edition play. All right, so let's talk about this. So what I'm talking about specifically is F2L. So I'm a speed cuber, and basically you learn to solve cubes faster and faster. And one of the things that you do is you learn algorithms, okay? So the way I learned to solve a cube, by the way, we call them cubes now. In the 80s, they called them Rubik's Cubes. Now we just call them cubes. It's a 3x3 cube. So the way we solve cubes today is you learn algorithms, okay? And basically, you can solve a good bit on your own, and you can do it intuitively, but you will reach a point where there is an algorithm you can learn that will help you solve much, much faster than doing it intuitively would ever allow you to do it. So with that, with that specifically in place, right, I learned the cube from the Tyson Mao method. There's a really good video right on YouTube by Wired magazine that presents the Tyson Mao method. It's a 24-minute video that teaches you how to solve the cube. It's fantastic. It took me about 3 days to learn how to solve the cube with that video. It really, really worked really well. But one of the things that the Wired presenter did in that video is he explained this is not the only way to solve a cube, and this is not the fastest way to solve a cube, and this is not the easiest way to solve a cube. Basically, I think what Tyson Mao's method is it is the easiest way it is the easiest on-ramp, and the algorithms it contains are the easiest to learn. They are the most easy to remember. They're easiest to remember, okay? So basically, I learned with the Tyson Mao method, and it was great, and I used it, and it got me through my first speed cubing competition, okay? But then as soon as I was done with that, I realized I needed to get faster algorithms if I was going to compete with the best in the world. So what I did was I had to learn F2L. So F2L is a specific way of solving the first two layers of a cube. And the F2L method is literally like half as many moves as Tyson Mao's method, which means that if you learn it, you can solve a cube much, much faster than anyone who ever learned through the Tyson Mao method. So in order to solve a cube using F2L, I had to unlearn the Tyson Mao method and then learn the F2L method, okay? And I'm right in the middle of this process now, okay? And I've already seen somebody go through it. And what happens is, with the Tyson Mao method, you're fast, okay? And then you start learning the F2L method, and for as much as a week, as up to a month, you will be much, much, much slower and much worse at solving a cube. And then you'll break through the complexity of the F2L because it is incredibly non-intuitive. And then once you've broken through, at that point, you're all the way there, right? And you can solve a Rubik's Cube much faster than you ever could have with the Tyson Mao method, okay? Now, I think there's a lot of allegory, a lot of direct alignment, no pun intended there, between how people get faster at solving cubes and how wizards could solve spells could create and learn new spells specifically learn new spells in Dungeons and Dragons, right? In Dungeons and Dragons, as it stands right now, they just get new spells at a new level, and they're just as good at their old spells as they ever were. Now they just have new spells, right? Now that level of complexity is fine, but one of the things that is like there are multiple spells that are offered. Why not offer wizards different ways to learn their spells? And so allow them this option to learn spells in ways that could be significantly better than traditional learning methods, but would actually give them a detriment for a week to a month, right? And I really believe this is very true for highly complex knowledge work. When you do highly complex knowledge work, sometimes you have to unlearn some things in order to learn the new method. And that can be challenging. It makes you worse for a period of time. And there's really no equivalency for this in Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't allow complexity to be currently injected into how, with the current rule set, how wizards learn spells. And honestly, I can't help but think that learning new spells would be very, very similar to learning to solve a Rubik's Cube faster. In that, there would be methods that would be known, but you'd have to break away from those methods and try radically new methods, things that had not been, things that had been rejected previously. And you'd have to carve your own new path. F2L was a new path. It broke away from the Tyson-Mao method. Okay. Now, actually, F2L was around for quite a while, but those two paths of learning are divergent. And I think this would be really, really interesting, especially if you're thinking about wizards from the perspective of houses and how they gather and gain knowledge. And actually, I really think this is one area in Dungeons & Dragons going to be massively expanded on, is how wizards actually learn their spells. And I think there's a lot of fun that could be had, especially since we're in a knowledge worker world. Increasingly, knowledge work is paid more and more and more money, and it's paid more and more attention from the culture. And I think this would be a really cool way for Dungeons & Dragons to expand the interest within its game, specifically around wizards, who are they're part of the core four. It's fighter, wizard, cleric, rogue, right? So for that class specifically, this level of additional granularity on the class could be quite welcome, in my opinion. All that is my opinion. I'd love to hear what you think. What do you think of the idea of wizards getting worse at all of their spells for a while before they break through the ice and become much, much better at all their spells? Exactly the way speed cubers evolve from the Tyson-Mao method to the F2L method. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.